I don't have PTSD. That's the attitude I had when I first got out of the military. And it kind of carried forward to when I had two challenges when I first got out after being in so long. One was trying to adjust to like a civilian lifestyle just in everyday life. Like I'm getting up in the morning at 6 and nobody's cooking my eggs or making my grits for me. You know, and those kind of structural changes. And then I had my last tour before I got out was in 04 Ramadi. Let's go all the way back so you know who I am. I grew up on a farm out in the boonies in the middle of Kansas. My whole family had basically been in military service.
I am from Newton, Kansas. I graduated high school in 2001 and went to the Army 12 days after high school graduation.
Okay, what made you join the Army?
College money, needed to get out of town, and needed to prove something to myself.
What did you need to prove?
That I was, in fact, there was a tough person lurking underneath all of the skinny, got picked on interior.
My last deployment, maybe was my most defining deployment as far as my career, was in 04 Ramadi. At the time, the Sunni Triangle was one of the most dangerous places in the world. They dropped me. They actually dropped us out, me and myself and another NCO and I think 3 soldiers. We were flying out there on a Sea Stallion from the Marines, and I was joking with the Marines that they wanted me to take over the 50 cal, and they're like, no, we got it. And then our helicopter came under heavy fire as we were going to our place. And those guys opened up, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right when they started shooting down helicopters then. And I really credit those guys, those gunners, for doing a great job that day. But once again, the other soldiers who hadn't really seen anything like that got really ramped up, and it helped me to help them. I don't know if that makes any sense. It helped me calm them down and say, okay, hey, listen, you know, and you were up in the air, we really can't do anything, all right, just stay calm.
I mean, we invaded the country, so it was at March 19th, March 20th. I don't know what the official date was here. Yeah. For me, I think I had it written down March 20th. Like March 20th, like 7:21 at night or something like that, we crossed over into Iraq for the first time. It was crazy. I mean, we got, you know, I was driving a Bradley at the time, which is an armored personnel carrier, and you know, I had me in the driving, 2 guys in the turret, a gunner and a commander, and then 6 or 7 guys in the back, and I was the lead vehicle for my group. Like I was probably about literally the first one into the country. And we got into Baghdad and fought outside of the city for a day, and then woke up the next day and the city was ours. Yeah, we jerked fire that day, then we had to drive. We were driving into Baghdad, and they had something called IED, or RPG Ally is what it was. We were just driving through this corridor basically, and just had guys on both sides of us and buildings just shooting down, rocket propelled grenades like on us like this, just shooting at us left and right, and whatever they had to throw at us, they were throwing at us.
When I came back, when I got out, I started noticing a few little things that were off to me. And those things mostly centered around what I thought was just everyday life. Like I didn't, people would like tell me, hey, you might have PTSD. You're over in, 04 Ramadi. What, 75% of your troop came back and were like tested. And I'm like, no, I'm just suffering some changes.
When he came back, he was quieter. He was more introspective than what he had been before. I mean, he was quiet, but he always had something to say usually. But he was quieter. I really saw it when he decided to go up to Manhattan to go to school. And the first place he lived in, I call it the hole. And he went to the basement apartment. He was quiet. Things bothered him, but he kept it to himself. He didn't say a whole lot.
XPOS, first day. Sitting down at the table of class. Everybody's going down and telling who they were and what, where they came, and so say, hey, I'm this from high school, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh no, don't make it over to me. Don't. The guy to my right says I was a Marine. And I was like, thank God. I'm not the first one. And it got to me, and I was like, oh, finally. I was like, I'm in the Army, too long, obviously. I'm ancient, because I have self-conscious, and I'm still constructing that thing. The teacher, who by the way is the biggest, when I say hippie, she had like peace symbols all over her or something. She had scarves, and I'm like, oh gosh, she's just gonna throw me out. she's like, well, welcome to class. And it just was like a relief going out. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be nice. And then one of the students said, so how many people did you kill? And immediately I was gone. I was like, oh no. I was like, this is my worst nightmare. This is what's happening. And it shook me so bad that the Marine guy just kind of looked over and just gave me a look. And it reminded me of the brother, you know what I mean? You don't know. I'm not saying that condescending, I'm just saying it's the brotherhood where I look over and I know he has a commonality with me. And it meant the world.
Yeah, and they beat into you, and I came back an aggressive asshole, and it was terrible. Like, I'm not this person. I'm laid back for the most part. I'm pretty chill. Like, I don't like to push people around. I'm just not that person. I was a dick. It was just my boss I came back to work in old Chicago, and I was started working there full time right after I came back from that because it was summertime. And like, I guess I ripped into one of the managers, like one of the other managers. Like, I ripped her in half one day because she said something to me. And like, he was, he pulled me aside like the next day and he's like, what happened? He's like, this is not you.
We have the spouses talking about, living with someone who's angry all the time, who is hard to deal with, who isolates. I mean, those are the very common characteristics that we often see. And when you have someone who's dealing with their own demons, it's often very hard to connect. That's one of the things that trauma disrupts is connection with other people. And so living with that on a day-to-day basis starts to erode not only the individual that's experienced the trauma, but the spouse, the children, and their connections as a family.
I think he's comfortable with himself now. I know there's going to be times, but I think he's more comfortable. He's more what he used to be like than when he first came back. First couple of years were a little tough.
One of the things I think, you can't force anyone to get help. And if I were to say anything, it would be to the family members that are with that person, the friends and family members. It is just to stick in there. And it's really easy to just give up. But if you can start to recognize what the issues are, continue to try to get that person help, get help yourself. But you can't force anyone to get help.
I decided that maybe other people had might be having the same problem. They might be having the same struggles I was having with being in a different environment, being self-conscious, not thinking that, the panicking and thinking, hey, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to, when's somebody going to ask me that question, so I decided, in talking to the guys in class, and we had another guy, another Army person was in there as well. I was talking to those guys, and I said, this is important, I think. I think this is important. So I went and started a group, a student group, and it's helped me, just like when I was in the helicopter helping those kids get over the panic. It's helped me deal with stuff too. And one of the big things I think is the peer-to-peer relationships that you build. And doing things like this documentary where You can tell people, you know, sure, I have PTSD. I've got some issues where, you know, I'm still seeing my therapist, but you know, I made it into honors. You know, we're all helping each other succeed, and you can do that. You can reach a point where you're actually going forward with your life in the civilian world and being successful, and not only being successful, but living, you know, being enriched and able to reach out and help other people.